Welcome to Show and Tell number 7. This is the first in the fall series. We go basically September through May, and all of New England book artists kind of take a break for the summer because we all have so many commitments. So we really do this once a month, and it's a way to share artists' creations of all sorts that are either book arts or book related in any way, shape, or form. And for September, we thought it would be a great idea to go back in time and start thinking a little bit about sharing all the membership that participated in our summertime project. So here we go with Wish You Were Here. Wish You Were Here has been New England book artists' first attempt at any kind of participation at collaborations with other institutions. And as you can see, I'm gonna jump around. I have my queued up here. Here we go. I created a logo during a group session with basically 2 to 3 members from all these different organizations that you see here. San Diego Book Arts were the leaders, and they had done an absolute overwhelming amount of information and PDFs and scheduling and all kinds of crazy stuff before we even met as the leaders of all the different groups. And I was just so interested in how they ran it and how the other groups were organized, and learning from the experience was almost just as important for me, I thought, as the actual collaborative nature of all of these artists doing all of these postcards. A lot of people are members in multiple groups, and they don't really feel as regionally anchored. I know that we haven't really ever put out a statement or thought to ourselves exactly whether the words New England of New England book artists really mean something about regional applications only. We've already started getting things, memberships from people all the way down into New York, which some people don't really consider to be New England exactly. It starts to be, I guess, Mid-Atlantic or whatever. But yeah, we need to decide, if that's an issue or not. And things like this are great ways to promote each other.
Well, I think the fact that we're called New England book artists, obviously implies that we're based in New England, but should never restrict, artists and book binders and book historians from other places.
Yeah.
I think that we talked about that when we started the group.
Yes, very much so. These people and these other groups really look at it as a way to get membership from other people too. So they're actively kind of courting, hey, join our group too, now that you see all this wonderful stuff going on, which I think is nice. And the reason why we knew about this project in the first place was because Susan Marsh was already a member of San Diego Book Arts, and she saw it as a call that came to them initially, and then the thing mushroom clouded. So typically this thing has less than 60 people or so, and it's just San Diego Book Arts related. And it became 192 different, it's like 173 individual artists, but some people did two groups. So like Anya was in 2 groups. I only did one because I was super busy. But
Sarah's
yeah.
a member of BAG. She's told us about that before. So I know she for sure is a member of that. Sarah Ringler.
Yeah, so it's a whole lot of overlap going on. There's a whole ton of shared information. There's shared videos that people shared. The whole project just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, because all these other people were doing all this stuff and we were totally like the little kids on the block, Christina kept putting her hand up. It's like, I'll do that, I'll do that, And I just had said, I'll take care of the logo. And then I said, I'll teach one of these workshops for free to the people that are participating. And then all of a sudden it came to the one that I really was really the only thing I really probably should have done, which was the show. And it was offered to our group, as well as all the other groups. And there was a huge pause, and my head just went to, there's going to be 173 different people coming to the website to see this and all their friends and all these organizations and all the cross-linking and the social media presence potential. And I just was just like, we need to have this no matter how hard it is. So instead of doing a lot of changes to our website portion, I added this gallery, which was massive. It's structured exactly the way our membership gallery is. but it was a considerable amount of work. And I have since the show kind of opened, I've started doing like this particular one here is called Artist Sharing. These are what I refer to as break pages. It puts like a page marker between each group. And when you go into it, so like this one has a whole lot more information now online. So sometimes one day I'll do a whole lot and then I won't do anything for a week. But any content that people say, hey, this is kind of cool, you want to add that to my page, I'm basically letting people sort of throw stuff at me for a little while longer. Here, with the sharing, I've learned this wonderful thing, which I always knew about, but I always forget, called Grab, where you can take screenshots off of any computer at any time and make it into a JPEG. So I started grabbing off of some of the videos during Zoom meetings and after, and made slideshows myself of still photos from these grabs that I initially just totally overwhelmed all these like break pages with NEBA people, because I was like gonna give us like a woohoo. And then I started feeling like it was a little too NEBA heavy with the bonus, the bonus stuff. So I started adding people from other places. So I threw in some additional content, which I thought was important. I threw them, I still got a few more links here and there to do, but I've really worked hard on getting this. And here's an answers. We're going to be looking at some of this later, but I just wanted to kind of give you a sense of how I kind of thought it all through and why I chose to put myself into such a pickle with having to do such a big job. But it was a labor of love. And again, not to be like a downer, but I've had a lot of family loss, and we just had another one, and it's just way in my head. But I'm in a muddle over all of it. And for somehow dealing with my screen and this computer and narrowing my beam and blocking out a little bit of that, I think has been personally helpful. So again, I'm glad that I could redirect and make positive things out of my current situation.
But I don't think we can overestimate what you've done in terms of creating both the gallery and then your constant extension. So
yeah,
if anything, it seems like you've made beauty out of pain or beauty out of sorrow. And I think,
yeah. And
I don't know who could have done as good a job as you've done. So
I thought about it. So in our blog section, you're going to go down, and this part, this is the actual where the NEBA part of Wish You Were Here is going to be located. So here we have the list. You have the link to get into the exhibit. You have a link to buy the catalog, but I'm going to start linking people's names to their actual gallery, right? So everybody's names will go right to the actual Wish You Were Here gallery, which I think will be better for us and promoting us a little bit more than everybody else. And I'm thinking of adding, again, some of these like slideshows of people doing their stuff. Like I have a great slideshow of Alice Stans. I have some images of people during their presentation, tarted up with some visuals, but actually also with the links. So that'll be kind of funny. You can see we had 22 people. That's pretty impressive. We were on par with all the other organizations in our participation, and they were just tickled pink to have us. I don't think any negative NEBA thing at all ever occurred in any way, shape, or form. We gave them fun lectures. We were, helping, like Susan's Wish You Were Here is actually Susan's brainstorming session when she came up with the actual name. And then I started riffing on the logo, and they were just like, NEBA, we love NEBA. And I was like, yeah, okay. So it was really positive interaction all the way. The group experience was really positive for me as well. I think since I am in my screen is sharing right now, it'll be easier for me just to start my presentation maybe and talk more that way while we're talking about process and how these groups and what did collaboration mean to people. That is kind of really, in my opinion, is almost more important than the outcome. It's like, what do we get from it? Why do we want to do this? Do we want to do it again? How is it affecting our art practice and our heart and soul and during COVID and the whole thing, so I think that would be really special to hear more than just technique. This takes a second to get the slideshow going. So you guys know that I do this shiitake mushroom stuff and that I'm a marbler. So for me, Wish You Were Here is kind of like, welcome to this floating kind of mushroomy conceptualization. Most people don't necessarily see it the way I see it, but it's coming from a motivation to think about how mushrooms for me are symbolic of life cycle. I'm enjoying the spore sprays that come off the gills after they're harvested. Obviously you enjoy eating them. They have this kind of interesting, the morticians of the woods, they're destroying things, they're totally consuming things, but they're also, helping and changing, and they're beautiful and fascinating and kind of alien-like. Anyway, so wish you were here. This is an altered book that has a lot of new components mixed with components from 3 other books that I kind of have taken apart over the years and used pieces in different ways. It was really kind of a mixture of ideas. So here you're seeing the original logo without all the extra stamps on it of the logos. And I'm just going to fire through the process a little bit. So I started with a really big vat. It was a 40 by 40 inch vat. And I had put alum, which is a bonding agent that makes the colors and marbling stick, onto my postcards. And I coated both sides of the postcard, and I was going to put them on the surface and then sink them. So some of the extra color would wrap around to the back and give the back a little patternation too. So here you're seeing the outcome of the pulls, and as you put on, you can't put them all down at once when it's just you and all these, I did 25, all these postcards. So the vat is moving from the action of putting the cards down, and it's also reacting to the fact that these cards are still sitting there, which is leaching alum off across the surface and creating this crazing effect. So it's like a cascade. I wish I had put them in the order they were done, like in a grid that way, but I couldn't really remember exactly, and I just laid them all out, and that's the first picture. This little extra piece of paper that you saw over to the left is the waste. So after the surfaces, all these are pulled, there's still ink on the surface of the marbling vat. So I typically do an extra waste print and save it to use as a component. Here you're seeing the first altered book, actually second, because that page that you're seeing as the waste print is printed on a interleaf that I tore out of a book. So it was a piece of handmade paper that was the lining of the front cover and loose up in the front as like the interleaf page at a book that I tore it out of. The internal piece is a photo album from somewhere in Africa that I got at a yard sale for like 10 cents. It happened to fit our cards really well. So here you're seeing what I ultimately did was take Sharpie, that's actually Sharpie, and it turns sort of like this purplish color, deep purple brown color, which I thought was kind of nice, even though it was just a black Sharpie Ultra. And I started drawing mushrooms and caps, and I riffed off of shiitake. The big, large one in the middle is actually more like what my shiitakes look like. But I started making them more cartoon-like and obviously more breast or phallus or, anyway, yeah, they started to get a little weirder. And I kind of enjoyed the ones that were weirder, and I started turning them. So you can see there's orientation shifts in some of them as well. And this is the one that I sent myself in the mail. So this is the one that I like the best. So I wanted to make sure to keep it. You can take them out easily. Here are all of them lined up. And you can see there's some extra ones down here. I was in a group of 16 people, so I really only needed to do 16. So at first I didn't do mushrooms on all the extras. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these yet, but I did enough to pick my favorite 16 to send. And of course I started sending them to other people that weren't in the project too. So I think I maybe have like 3 left. Here you can see some close-ups of the reticulation that happens. That's actually one of the things I like about marbling over long periods of time is you get these chemical contaminations that aren't really so great, but technically, I like the way they kind of imply the conflict and the push and shove. And, mushroom colonies across these oak logs do push and shove each other, and they do twist and contort depending on the angle of sun hitting them. And the orientation of the log too. And if you change them in the middle of growing, like if you rotate your log suddenly, they change direction in a really weird way and look even weirder. Yeah. This is the backside of my postcard. So the piece I'm calling the Mushroom Museum of Me. It's based on a artistic meditative art project that I did at MoMA online over the summer, where it's a museum. You're kind of like walked visually. you just close your eyes so that you have to think about all these things, and you're asked to go through this museum space into a room that has this treasure, and they never talk about what the treasure is supposed to be, and it's this, very new age crystally thing. At first I was thinking this is like going to be a real waste of my $5 for the Zoom. But then it was like, oh, wow. Okay. So I actually got into it and started really thinking about conceptualized ideas along marbling and the mushrooms without anyone ever saying mushroom. And then all of a sudden she says, open your eyes, look in your hands. What is it? And then she asked us to say what it was, and mushroom came out of my mouth. And I had been sitting there thinking about mushrooms while she was talking for some reason. I don't even know why, but it just led into this other thing. So wish you were here. We're taking a long, cool dip in the marbling vat and relaxing in the shade with the mushroom farm. Yeah. So basically that's kind of like the call-thon for the piece as well. Here you're seeing actually pretty cool information. So the teacher in me starts to come out. This is the inside of this African photo souvenir book. It's got a very simple, just single thread, or it's raffia, so it's kind of a little bit brittle, but it's loose enough to get in and out, no problem. And I just ripped those pages right off, and you can see that it's kind of a mess. Basically, I sealed it all up so that it was a solid core. I picked some retro 70s book cloth that seems sort of like laid back in jean, like Summer Chambray or something, jean shirt that I have. I cut these to wrap those edges that were ugly and to reinforce that area for sewing. Here you're seeing me do that, and you're seeing some of the cards I received. Yep. I did a little overlap, and then I did a really precision trim on each of these so that you could really, get that nicely done. So we went a little past. I'm showing you a technique here. I did a chiseled out niche on the front to hold the Wish You Were Here logo that I had printed on a laser print with black ink. And then I took it outside and sprayed it with a matte surface acrylic medium spray that sealed it up good so that you could rub it and it wouldn't, and it also made it look blacker actually, which was nice. So here I'm chiseling that out. Then you sand, you get it really down and smooth it and sand it good. Yeah, that's the back side where I was kind of like just visualizing. So that's just, notes basically. Here I am wrapping, and you can see in this, the back side of that waste sheet. So I'm wrapping the waste sheet around the front cover. That's the other side too. It's kind of a shame that you can't see through it when you mount it onto the board, because when you put those up to a window, you can see those botanical infused, embedded or whatever. Yeah, so there's the front cover. Now I'm making, I'm doing a Japanese puncture, so I'm doing the back cover in the same material so it won't get scuffed and beat up. And while that was drying and I was doing all this, I took that front cover outside with the same matte UV spray and gave it a good spray so that it's not delicate any longer. Here you're seeing I cut a piece off and slid it over for the gutter and wrap that up. Here I'm punching holes. I love a screw pull. Sewing process. Here is the last step. Instead of having a tie off, you make your knot, a double square knot. You put a little glue on the tip and shove it down into the hole, and then snip off as close as you can to that glue. You probably do that before you stick it down in the hole, actually, is what I did. I said that in the wrong order. I keep all the waste. When I'm trying to get a print the right size, I don't throw out the scrap of the first one that was wrong. I keep them and I use all that stuff to make the colophon. So all that stuff went into the colophon. I've had to put spacers in. So this is 4-ply acid-free ivory matte board that matched the same colors as the paper I used to do some of the printing. Then I started incorporating vellums in between. This is just very straightforward. I thought that it would be nice if things didn't rub each other. And then I started thinking, oh, vellum, cool. And so I did all the writing on vellum instead of adding paper. Here's Anya's. Then I thought, what if I take some of my postcards, scan them, and print them at like 20% so that they're really faint onto some of the vellum, because I didn't have enough vellum things to write onto all the vellum. So here I'm just basically flipping through. Love that one. This is Susan Marsh's, and that's a very complicated technique of pochoir. So that was really great to see some of her process. I haven't had a chance to put her process shots up on her site yet, but I will. These are my people in my group 5. So they're all over the place. Mostly, Anya and I were the only 2 in our group. So they really split us up good, which I thought was nice. And here is that little colophon booklet in the very last slot. It's a little too chunky monkey for that slot. So I'm going to take some of the pages, instead of putting it on cardstock, I'm going to print them onto something lighter, or I'm going to do something else there and attach it to the back cover. I haven't decided. I'm probably not going to redo it though, because that is the actual waste. So I don't want to substitute and go print back more stuff. Yeah, but here you're seeing the colophon. And again, this is like waste. So this is nice because you actually get to see the backside of that paper, which is kind of cool. And it's basically just some of the same information and some of the scraps from, and my see-through sticker on the back. And I use some of my extra cards in there too. So sorry, I was sidetracked and talked a little bit about other stuff, but I think process is interesting to hear. And I think it's good to have for making like a video short, like if you are an educator like I am, I can go back and show that instead of, I can send a link for that. And it just feels good to actually, hear it out loud from people instead of just labeling and doing these kind of like mini artist statements. Excellent. Nancy, do you want to go next?
Sure. Works. Yes, it works. Okay, so thank you all for coming. I think Christina's given us a great intro. So I was in group 1. Christina knows for sure how many groups there were, but like 12, right? Something like that.
Yes, 12.
12. So each group had 16 people, and I had a couple maybe from NEBA, and I had people all over the place who are continuing to email me. Such a generous group, such a wonderful collaboration. And I've collaborated with people in many contexts, in academia, in my law practice, in other arts organizations and other political cause organizations. And I think rarely, if ever, have I seen such a group of people who are so responsible and generous and kind and, everything positive. So it was a wonderful experience for me. Okay, so we each did cards and we sent them to 16 people, and some people did lots of cards, as you could, and Christina just showed that hers had one theme, but each one was individual. Some people sent exactly the same card, and I was trying out different things. So I made a bunch of cards. So I'm going to show you a few of them. I think I made 9 altogether, but I'll show you 6. So these are the first 2. And obviously the theme was Wish You Were Here. So each of my card groups had sort of a theme. So this is my day as a still life. And so these are items that I found while I was running or biking or hiking within a 15-mile radius of my neighborhood. And I did that a lot during COVID, both to get out of the house and also because I'm an old but somewhat dedicated triathlete. So I do a lot of different things. And then what I did was I laid them on my flatbed scanner, and then did a whole bunch of different, and it's just a regular personal printer thing. And you push preview, and then you can sort of see it from the front, because of course you're looking at it from the top when you're looking at the scanner. And so this has actually been sort of an amusing thing. I've done a bunch of different ones, but so I was practicing with things that I found around.
Can I ask a little more about your technique on this? So obviously there's like a depth of field, like a range of focus on a scanner. Are you just, are those objects that are soft far away, or are you actually jiggling them a little or something? Do you do movement during a scan? Is that something you're using?
You can, but in these I did not. So different scanners have different depths of field. Yeah. So the next one may be a little bit different, but on this one, I believe, oh no, if you look at the one that's on my left, which has that isn't modified on Photoshop as much, that has the tail sort of prominently in the middle. You can see in the background that I put the things on the scanner. Now the scanner has a bright light that's coming from underneath. So then I laid a tablecloth over the top. I don't know if you probably can't see my cursor, but up in the top right, you can see that little kind of, like it looks like a butterfly and a plum or an apple or something. That's on the tablecloth that's laid over the items. So in order not to have it, you know, black on the top, or, you know, I fuss with different things. With toys, it's a little different, but with this, I wanted to contain the light a little bit. And I don't have a
It
really
makes
high.
it makes the depth of field really interesting looking, you know, so
Yeah, it
your
does.
mind is like wondering how it was achieved. It's like, wow, that's something. Yeah, I love it. I think it's really great. Yeah.
Yes. So the left one is more or less how it actually looked when it, you know, when you print it, sort of like you print a photograph. The one on the right obviously has been modified with Photoshop. So on that one, I wasn't, so then I would do a photo transfer to get it on the postcard, because my personal printer won't print on 140-pound paper, which was our direction. So I had to do the photo transfer, and I wasn't sure in terms of the photo transfer process, because I hadn't done it a lot, whether or not it needed to be more graphic. So I made a bunch that were also more graphic. So then I did a photo transfer using a gel medium, and then practiced with that a few times, different transfer things I had, and then let it sit overnight, and then you wet it and then scrape it off, and it worked fairly well. So these are, the next two are, well, the one on the left is obviously the same thing, but more modified on Photoshop. So the theme that I did on this one was not my still life of my life. This one was about orientation and disorientation. And so I had a bunch of orientation tools that, you know, some are heirlooms, some I found at the transfer station, some I don't know where they came from. But as I was thinking about them, I thought, well, you only really use orientation tools when you don't really know where you are. That's why you need them, or you want to look closely at something. And I realized that for the most part, I have only a fledgling idea of actually how to use them. So, so it was an interesting thought process about how often we're oriented or not disoriented in our daily lives. And I was reading this book called Survival, in which the guy was saying that actually at a physiological level, most of the time, unless we're in our own physical house, we don't really know where we are that well. That, you know, we're constantly checking street signs, or, you know, we think we know where we're going, and it's sort of an automatic routine, but we don't really know. And I started thinking about how often when I go into the woods, even if it's pretty familiar, I'm always looking at the map sign and stuff. And I sort of thought it was interesting, because it was also metaphoric, since I am always on the edge of knowing and not knowing what I'm doing in my real life and the rest of my life. So, and then the one on the right, this is Farm Pond in Sherburne. Many of you may know where that is. And it used to be an ice pond. And I think Ronnie did a presentation to us on an ice pond in her area, where they used to chunk out ice before we had refrigerators. It's about 8 miles from my house. And so I do a lot of, I bike over there, and then I swim. And then I bike back. And so I'm there a lot. And I also started thinking about what makes me feel safe, or what makes me feel comfortable. And I think it's this for me anyway, it's this combination of familiarity and novelty, that I get really bored with complete routine fairly quickly. But at the same time, I used to live near the Arboretum, and I would run there every day. And I used to really love that. And I think the combination of being in nature, where if you pay attention, it's always changing, but at the same time, it can be very familiar. And so that's what I was dealing with there.
Yeah, nice.
And then the last two that I'm going to show you are, I was hiking around the Bay Circuit Trail, which it's 260 miles, and it goes I think it's within 495 approximately, but it goes up from Newburyport all the way down to Duxbury. And I haven't done the whole thing, but it's in 5-mile segments. If you're interested, and you go online and put in Bay Circuit Trail, you can get each of the maps. And it goes through my town. So that's sort of where I started, going both directions. And at any rate, so I would hike during COVID, and sometimes with other people. And then I started trying to notice things that were different. And then, then I would sort of happen on these kind of amazing things. And these are two of them. One was this bike that was like 20 feet in the air in Needham. And I couldn't figure out how it got up there, or was it a dare? Who had put it up there? It seemed kind of miraculous that it was up there. It kind of reminded me of E.T. And the other one, I think, is in like Canton or something, the ladder. And it was, again, it was like in the middle of the woods. There was no tree fort above it. It was, had to be a quarter of a mile from anything else. It was just an extension ladder sitting against this tree as the light was late afternoon light, like around 4 o'clock. And so that part really isn't very modern. I mean, obviously the texture isn't the way it was. That's sort of paint light, or canvas. But there was this afternoon light filtering through the trees. And I thought, wow, that's kind of amazing. It was sort of like,
it is, it's glowing, sort of, yeah. Yeah. The color palettes on both of these are fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So then I returned at some point, especially to the one on the bike, which is fairly near my house. And of course it was gone. And part of one of the themes of my life, because I moved around all the time, was, what stays, and, do you disappear from people's memory once you leave, and blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of realized that when I went back and they weren't there, first of all, I was really glad I'd taken photographs of them. But second of all, that it almost seemed more miraculous, like that they'd been there and now they weren't. And so then I began to realize that the concept of magic is often something that's fleeting, because if it's there all the time, you kind of get used to it. So, that was just a personal insight for me, but I liked it. So here are the postcards that I got from all of my people, all of my people. These are the ones that my group sent to me. And you can see they're sort of from all over, from Seattle, from San Francisco, from a lot from the Southwest. And every day it was like amazing to go to the post office, to go to the post box, just my mailbox outside, and have another one. They just felt such a gift, so kind of reverent. Compared to, the mail and the bills, which are usually all that I have. And so one of the things that we had to do in the project was we made these postcards and we sent them around, and most of us also were going to do a structure. So originally people wrote on the back, and I hadn't wanted to, I felt like it was such a precious thing. It was kind of amazing. My biggest fear was that I was going to lose one. So I hadn't wanted to punch holes in it or to glue on it or anything. So I thought originally I was going to do some kind of mobile and a structure, and then put "Wish We Were Here" banner through the top. And then I was going to make a box with 2 compartments, one for the mobile and one for the carts. But one of the rules of the project that I didn't realize right away, which wasn't told to us right away, but I still didn't realize it right away, was that you had to have a white background. And I couldn't figure out how to do the mobile idea on a white background. I could have made this black with Photoshop, but I didn't feel like I was good enough to make it white without blowing everything out. So then I started with other structures. So somebody had sent around how to do a box. So I made a box, which was originally going to be a box that held the postcards. And then I was going to do a larger box that held the postcards and the mobile. So I went ahead and did the box because I wanted to figure out, I wanted to give my try at it. And for this one, I had some material that I then scanned and brightened up a little bit to do the coloring, because I like the idea that it would have like a farm or houses, and it had trees, and it had water, and it had sky. And so I thought that was kind of nice. Anyway, but then because I had wanted to do 2 things before, which was this mobile in the box, this didn't, I felt like, well, I don't know if that's enough. So anyway, so here is the, so originally I did the box, and then I kind of arranged the cards around the box, but then I still wanted to do something else because I had done the mobile idea. And meanwhile, I kind of wanted to express my appreciation for the incredible number of tutorials that we had. So I did another thing. So the next thing I did was a jelly print cover with a blizzard carousel binding that was the subject of 2 workshops. And there was this discussion about doing Tyvek, and I had never thought of Tyvek as a book artist material, but I had a bunch of Tyvek in the basement, and it's very flexible and you can paint on it really easily, which was shocking to me because I thought, well, it was waterproof, so how could you paint on it? But you can. And Christina had actually done a workshop on jelly print. So this is my next one. And I put the cards in, but I didn't want to glue them in because I didn't want to ruin the cards. So the cards kept falling out. So then I went on to my next structure. So here's another, this is still the same structure. So this one also allowed me to do a little dedication in the front, in which I thanked all the people that were involved. And, generally the people who had offered tutorials and provided written guides and all kinds of things. And then I listed my group members. So that was the plus over the mobile, although I could have done that with the colophon with the mobile too. But so I did that in the dedication page. But the postcards were a little bit different sized. And so I had to make the binding to fit the largest ones, and they kept falling out unless I was going to glue them. So then I did a double-sided accordion with 24 pockets, 12 on each side, and made a belly band. And so that gave me 16 on each side, which meant that I could put in, so this is the one that actually got sent to Christina. And so that allowed me to use, I had multiples of my own cards, so I could put them on the back. And also I could put, because I got 16 and I had more pockets, I could also do the introduction as to what the instructions were, and then also the story of the project, and also the thank you dedication in it as well. So I ended up liking that, although I see when I sent it to Christina, I hadn't yet erased the pencil marks on the top. So imperfect as always.
Did I catch that? Did I catch that or not in the final? Because I had to, white out everybody. So I basically used levels and brightening the backgrounds for everybody.
You're not supposed to clean up after me all the time, Christina.
Well, I mean, it's for me.
But thank you if you did. But this came from mine. So when I presented it, they were there. And so for this one, I also used some material, which I didn't like the color. So then I did in Photoshop, I made the colors of the paper, which I then scanned to match. So each one would pick up colors from the palette of the cards. So all of the colors on the covers are found somewhere in the cards. So that was the one I sent to her. And then while I was trying to figure out if I liked that color, I did a weave one, which I didn't use. Then I mocked it up to see if I liked it better, which I didn't, but that's what it would have looked like if I've continued on.
That's a nice weaving, yeah.
And then this is just, so then once I had that and I watched the presentations, I realized that people were reproducing them. And first I felt like, I couldn't reproduce the cards because it would be like art forgery or something. But people were copying the cards and using them in different things. So I went ahead and copied the front and back and mounted it to cards. So then I could make a second one and then actually glue in the cards, because I had the original cards in the accordion book. So there's the one that.
Question on this. So you made your card a little bit longer so that you wouldn't get clipping, and that was actually glued down? Because the reason why I didn't choose a carousel bind is because to glue them in place means that you're attaching them at some point that is going to cover up some of the design of the card itself. Right,
it does. It does. So here's
did you make your little card longer so that the piece that's glued in is not critical, or did you just go ahead and do it? You just went ahead and did it. Yeah.
Well, it's like, you can, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like, it's only about a 16th of an inch. And it's actually not glued in. It's put in with double-sided tape.
Oh, okay.
So the binding sticks out slightly beyond the card, but I wanted to make the cards relatively flush, and the covers are obviously a little bit longer than the cards.
Yeah.
So you don't see the cards at the end. But remember, I was I was a little more reckless with these because they look like the postcards, but they're actually copies that have been glued onto
Yeah.
file folders. And the real
Okay.
cards are in this one,
Yeah.
which haven't been tampered with at all.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that you were the most structures of anyone out of the 173 participants by far. Any one of these would have been like, holy cow, along the way.
No.
But I do like your ideas of this scanning fabric and modifying with, well, you select color or replace color in Photoshop and change
Right.
those colors of the patternation and make it your own and bend it. Seems like really,
Well, you
really
just did a
interesting.
gazillion things on one. I just kept thinking, oh my God, this is a
Yeah.
failure. And I'd go on to another one.
I don't think any of them were failures. I think this is really amazing. And this is a testament to how much you learned during this
Right.
collaboration with all these playing with all these new structures. Fantastic.
Right. And I think really what drove it was my gratitude and reverence for the people in my group and the cards, and also wanting to honor all those people who offered free tutorials. So I will stop now, but I have nothing but good things to say about everybody in the group who did presentations and everybody who participated in the project.
I think that your whole process is amazing, and I love there's always a sense of refinement and elegance in everything that you do, and you may not think that it's perfect, but boy, it sure looks perfect to me. You know, I commend you. What tremendous commitment and tenacity to experience to get the best possible effect. Congratulations.
Well, it sounds like you're on drugs, but thank you very much.
Oh, that's hilarious.
All right, so I'm going to stop share. No, I appreciate it, but to give you a sense, my zine is on imperfectionism.
Can't wait.
Never knew turtles could impart so much wisdom. You guys won't know what that means yet, but that's okay. She understands me. Who wants to go? Okay. Would you how would you like to go? Would you like me to pull up your images from the show, or do you have something you can share?
I am my daughter is Susan Marr. She invited me to join. I am a brand new member, and I am just thrilled with the year, not a year, but the time I've had with you. What a gift you all are. But Nancy, I just loved your presentation. I told you that before. You have so many ideas that I should never go after you. But
well, I'm so glad you're in the group. So by all means, go.
Yeah, your presentation with the slides with the writing and all, very helpful. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Judy, I'm gonna basically just pull up and share the screen of your portion of the gallery, and you can hold up before we do that. Maybe why don't you show it to us physically first?
I have, it won't be long, and I can just show it to you. It's fine. I just have to say, I'm so heartened and thrilled to be a member. You women are just so creative, and this has been a very, very difficult year. I've lost my sister-in-law, and some of my friends have had COVID, and they're recovering, but they're problems, you know. And all of the women I've met, it has just been that that's why I chose this type of cover. You know, the women have given me such strength and humor, and you're so creative. My goodness, you just have ideas. It's just been wonderful. And I have such ignorance around in the news and stupidity. And I'm in Florida, you might understand what I'm saying. And there's such selfishness and danger, really, so that anyway, that's where I'm coming from. And it's just been a wonderful experience. I just can't believe that I've been in Florida this long, and look how many smart women there are around. I just love it.
Well,
Yeah.
we love having you as an example. I'm going to tell you happy birthday, happy 90th birthday, 90th, people. Oh my goodness. If we could all be even a fraction as like feisty and cool and fun and like participatory and like engaged in totally new things at 90, more power to us.
Well, if I stop, you know, you can't make
Yeah.
up when you're dead either, you know, so.
Yeah.
But let me just read you one sentence, my new sentence for this zine book.
Okay.
A statement, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, growing old is a fierce, exciting ride, trying to grow and learn in the time left. What grows never grows old, aiming high with love for family and friends. Eroding, but a spark left. Thank you.
Very cool. I love that. I got to see a peek of that. Nobody else is seeing much of the zine stuff yet till I start making posts, but I got to see a peek of that in your email recently from Susan. Oh my goodness. Lots to unpack there, and plenty. You have like 90 years worth of content to make artist books about. That's pretty crazy. You should be sharing all this wealth of knowledge that you clearly possess.
Thank you.
Judith, I loved your book, and I loved seeing it when I got the catalog, and also obviously in the gallery online. I worked for the Florida Voter Protection Team last year from September through January, you know, so I was working in basically every precinct. And so, you know, I have a deep understanding and appreciation for all of the people who are fighting the good fight in Florida.
Right. Oh,
So thank you.
Yeah.
Show you one more thing. I have to show you the card my daughter sent me, her postcard. You remember?
Yeah.
It came in 3 pieces with a big bite out of it. You see that?
We care.
Oh,
Dear valued postal customer, that is priceless. Look at that.
Yeah, so
You can't make this stuff up, man. That is priceless.
right, and they had scotch taped it all back together. But we care.
It sounds like it needs to be like photographed and made into a mass mailing postage thing to like what is his name? That dude, DeJoy, who is no joy.
Yeah.
We should do a mail campaign to that jerk off. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry. I'm getting feisty, Judy. See, you got me all riled up. What I want you to do is hold up the book and show us a few of the spreads, or they'll go straight through, you know, maybe just turn all the pages for us so that we can see the other cards in your project.
Well, I think you've seen them all, you know, probably. Well, okay.
There you go. Yeah.
I just have the list.
Yeah.
And then I need to do another page on all the data you sent me about.
It's a work in progress. Stay on this one for a second and pull back just a little bit further. So this person did like a plastic sleeving, and it had like a jewel or like a rhinestone on some, and most of them had this feather attached.
Feather. And she's from Florida, which is fun to have the pink flamingo.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay. That was interactive.
Let's see. And she's at the back is nice. It's hard to show it all here, but anyway.
That's a nice one.
It's Trudy's, and
oh yeah.
Light flashes. I don't know that you can see that.
Yeah, we can actually. That's metallic, right? Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that before.
Yeah, Stephanie Stigliano, our member, she gave a free one of our free workshops was from her for the lino cut, and that might have been from that workshop. Share your postcard. This is great. I love this.
Fine. And it's the view out my window. I live on the channel, and we sit in my dining room table is right in front of the windows across the front. So I have a wonderful view, and this is my painting of the view. And so during this year, we all feel like we're in Plato's cave. You know, you look out, you see shadows going by, you see boats, you see planes, you see clouds, you see people without masks in Florida walking by, and all children. And one little boy with a laundry basket over his head, he said he's a spaceman. No, but I mean, it's just wonderful view. But so I encourage all of you to come give me a wave, you know, because we're back now, and we've shot way up in cases again with this new variant virus we have. So I've had my shots, I have my booster, and I have my flu shot. So I'm all prepared. And I'll keep right on watching.
It feels good. I feel like it's like this rose-colored glasses kind of a feeling, almost like you're seeing through this kind of like fogginess, or it's like you're dreaming about being there, or you're there and you've had so many Long Island iced teas that's what you're feeling. I don't know, but definitely it takes me there, and I wish I could come visit. I am going south, but I'm not gonna, won't be in Tampa, but
there's more time, so next time.
Next time.
Now, do you want to see them all? That's the people from our group.
We don't have to see them all. People can see. I wanted to, like, as you were flipping, to get a sense of how the book is actually put together, so to get a sense of the structure too. So however you want to do it is fine. Yeah, it looks good.
It's accordion, and I bought the Tyvek.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I thought it was awful. It's plastic. I didn't like it at all. Now that I know I could paint it, I feel so much. Anyway, I've got this pile sitting there. So I went for the elephant, paper, I guess you call it. But I like it. It's strong, and I did just accordion. But did I have trouble doing even just accordion? So.
Well, I mean, maybe even isn't the way to go. Who knows? But Tyvek is super cool, and I'm glad people are mentioning it, because you can bend it back and forth, and so it hinges well, and it's not going to break. It's like fabric. It's actually better than fabric. It's some seriously strong business, and it does print a whole lot of ways, and really interesting. It's an interesting tool, so I'm glad people are mentioning it. Thank you, Judy. Awesome. Gail, do you want to go next?
Okay.
Do you want to share screen, or how do you want to do?
Could you just put mine up?
Yeah, sure. Let me, it might take a second to get there, but hang on one second. Oh, okay, Gail, take it away.
Okay. So, do you have the one of my card as well?
Let's start
Yeah,
there.
there it is. Yeah. So I took a lot of the workshops. I was incredibly happy to have all of those pieces of information. They were wonderful. I had never used Tyvek before, and I had taken a class on cutting with Beatrice Caron, and she uses Tyvek she does these huge capes where she's cut out all of these patterns within the material, and she uses Tyvek. So it was sort of an excuse to try the material. And the thrilling part was, yes, you can paint it. I had black Tyvek, but black means one side, not both. So I ended up painting the other side. Collaboration wise, I am sort of a collaborator. I have what I call my art partner, and we've collaborated for, we're not sure exactly how long, between 10 and 15 years. So we have sort of this ongoing body of work, which is really kind of neat. But I love collaboration, and I've probably had over the years maybe 8 or 10 different people that I've collaborated with, usually on a single project, not usually an ongoing thing, although someone I'm collaborating with now, we're doing a second project. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes too. My card has to do with the town I live in, which is Concord, New Hampshire. And Concord is an interesting town in the sense that it's very history oriented. And I have, over the years, we've lived here 42 years. And over all of those years, all of my part-time jobs have been nonprofits. So I've worked for everybody, whether it's the city library or it's the historical society or you name it. My joke is if you know of a nonprofit in New Hampshire, I mean in Concord, I have worked for them. So one of the things is every week our local paper has an entire page of what's happened on that week's dates in history. So this is where I got all the information, and it was basically just cut into the newspaper page because there's just so many different things that are noted in this page every week. And again, it's an ongoing project. They've been doing it for years. So lots of history here. Lots of it is sort of like everybody knows this if you live locally, that the Concord coaches, which are the coaches that settled the West, were built here. A lot of really interesting history. So that's what I kind of focused on in my card. And I don't know if there's anything else other than I really enjoyed. I did the blizzard-ish binding, and
Let me pull up a little bit here. There you go.
Yeah, I loved it. I just absolutely loved it, and I'm sure we'll use it again.
How long did it take you to actually do the folds for the bind? Just out of
I'm not
curiosity, I haven't
sure.
done that workshop yet.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to give a workshop in this, and I don't really know because I kept doing it over and over with different materials.
Yeah.
And the class I'm going to teach, I'm not using Tyvek, I'm using Kozo paper because it too creases nicely, and you get sort
It's
of
pretty strong, so that should work. This
it's
is
very strong, and it's
Yeah.
a little cleaner. The one thing with the Tyvek is it's softer, so it's a softer fold where it's more crisp with the Kozo.
Interesting. Tell us,
So
this is at Twigs, and you want to tell us the dates, or do you have that in your head? It's going to be.
I don't.
I'm going to put it in a newsletter or
Okay.
in October. What do you? It's in October.
It's in October, but I don't know the exact
Is it
date.
close to the 1st, or is it a little bit later?
I think it's later. I'm doing
Yeah, so
Sherburne
I
on
will
the
make
2nd.
sure that the Twigs Gallery listings happen for the
Okay.
October newsletter, because
Great, thank you.
several of our members are teaching really interesting kind of single structures in shorter increments, which, you know, are great. October obviously in New Hampshire is going to be dynamite. So it might be a great weekend excursion idea.
Right.
You go take a class and tool around on the way back and enjoy the weather.
What I can do is I can get the information and tell you at the end of this.
Yeah, we can do that, but I'm definitely going to make sure that everybody knows about it.
Okay,
And here's
great,
the
thank you.
cover. Yeah.
So actually, this can be shown the other way so that it's a horizontal.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and because of that kind of binding, it's really easy to take the cards in and out.
Yeah.
So it can easily be handled, and you know, as you mentioned, it's very strong binding, so
Yeah.
not a problem. So
I
that's
love
about it.
that addition of the purple to make those words pop out. Yeah, I didn't think of that, but in hindsight, yeah, having that contrast is kind of key.
Yeah.
It makes it calm down some. It's a little bit visually crazy with all those logos. Yeah.
Right.
But that kind of
it's such a great logo, so yeah.
Yeah, it was the, you know, the idea, I don't know if people notice this, but the SDBA is like just a little bit bigger. There was politics involved, as there always are.
As there always is, yes.
Okay, lovely. I love this.
Thank you.
Excellent. Who wants to go? Renata, do you want to share yours?
Sure.
Do you have some images, or do I need to pull you up?
I can show you something right in front of the
Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me make you a host, and that way you can hop in.
I just need to move my camera. So hold on.
Oh, okay, great. So I've made you a host now.
I don't even think I need to be a host, but.
Oh, you're right. You don't. What am I saying?
I'm just gonna show it to you.
Give me a second here, and okay.
All
Go
right.
for it.
Okay, so this is the book in its closed form. I'm gonna try. Can you see
Yeah.
it? I'm only having like a small view of it. So this is the book, and I'm gonna open it. This material, I don't remember what it's called. I bought it at a craft store. It has sort of a leatherish feel to it, but it's some kind of paper product. I think you can wash it even. It slips around the actual book. I'm going to take it out. And I used the blizzardish book binding. You see the spine, and for the spine itself, I used packing paper, and then had front cover and back cover, and wrapped those in this paper. This is a Japanese printmaking paper called Kitakaza, and I printed your logo on it. And on the back, I printed the colophon. This is an explanation of what the project was about and who was participating in my group number 9, and the acknowledgement. And then the individual cards in here, just like we have seen before, and you can take them out. They sit.
Turn it so that we can see the orientation, because I think the bottom Alice stands. Who is the bird?
Is this better now?
Yeah, that looks good. I wanted to see the bird better. Yeah.
Okay, the bird.
I don't recognize that, and I handled all these images, so that must be a unique card that just was special.
The bird is from Gina from San Diego.
Gina Pacello. She's actually does a lot of online tutorials herself. She's really great. I love that.
Okay, and here's Boston, and this is also San Diego, I think, New Mexico.
Cyanotype was quite a few people did cyanotyping. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And this was a woven one. This was an interesting structure. Some more leaf printings, another cyanotype. And this was the last card I received from California. This is the one that folds out. You see it okay?
Yeah. Fantastic.
There's this little mechanism here where she comes out and
love it.
Patty. Yeah, this is Patty Pitts, and her card took the longest to get to Maine from California, and I hadn't got it by the time that I left the country. I was away for 2 months, so she was kind enough to send it to me in Germany, and therefore in an envelope, and therefore I have a stamp from her that was on the envelope that she sent me to Germany, and I cut out the stamp and put it on the outside envelope of my book to indicate where it opens. And
I was going to ask you about that when you were done, so I'm glad that got, and I love how you turned the logo on a diagonal. Fantastic.
Yes,
Never
so that it
would
fits
have
on
ever
it.
occurred to me to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and maybe just briefly, this is the card I made. This is, I'm in Maine here in Bangor, and Bangor is on the Penobscot River. It's a bit hard to see perhaps on screen, but there's very delicate line work. This is the Penobscot River watershed that did that as an oil transfer, just drawing from a map. And then the fish are rubber stamps with solvent ink, and the waves of the water, and here the rising sun is simply watercolor. And the sun is rising because we're on the East Coast and the very eastern part of the Eastern time zone, so it gets light really early here. Yeah, that's the card. And on the back, little description, colophon technique. Yeah. So that's the book.
Yeah.
I love your card. I love the layering of it, and it's just so beautiful.
And I love the way she used the colors on her card.
Yeah, thanks very much. Okay.
Yeah, when you take just an overall view of a book and then one spread and then a view of a postcard, there is no way to convey what it's about. And so for me to get some video footage and be able to go and add that to listings, like I can do segments of this and add them to your listings or take stills that kind of show process better. For me, it just makes the experience that much better, you know?
Yeah,
Plus
Yeah,
it just
I
lets
think-
us sparkle a little more than everybody else on the show, right?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's hard to convey that in still photos. Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Elisa, do you want to go next?
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Let me give this presentation a shot here.
Okay,
You'll
I'm
have to,
gonna host you and that way you can have, all right.
okay, because I'm using Canva. So let's see.
Yeah,
Can you see it?
everything's good.
Woohoo! Okay, so I was in group 2, as you can see, and this is my postcard. I live in Montpelier, Vermont, which is the only state capital without a McDonald's. And we're very little. You can just walk into our state house and you don't need to go through metal detectors. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I tried to think about where I live and what are some great things about Vermont. And I just thought about those general things that everybody thinks about, you know, the foliage or cheese or maple or skiing or things like that. And it just seemed a little bit too broad for me. So I got really specific about Montpelier, and I didn't think the McDonald's thing was going to make for a good postcard. So I went for a focus on the Montpelier Valentine's Day Phantom. And what happens is every Valentine's Day, you wake up to these hundreds and hundreds of red paper hearts that are splattered all over the businesses in downtown Montpelier on the windows. And nobody really knows who or what team of people does it every year, but the hearts just show up. And it's just really, really wonderful. And in recent years, they started having kids color in hearts at the local schools. And so there's those that are put out, and it's just wonderful. I think there was one year where something happened and they didn't go out and everybody freaked out. But they're back, so we're all very happy. And I just love it about where I live. And nobody knows who does it, like I said. And it's been a mystery since 2002, who is responsible for this.
It's almost like a Guerrilla Girls approach.
Yes, guerrilla love.
Can you talk about the technique before you?
Oh, the postcard, yeah.
Yeah,
let me go
yeah.
back. Sorry,
I'm curious. Yeah.
the print that's in green, that part I did using my GoCo machine.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know about that, it's a Japanese silk screen machine. They don't make them anymore. They were really popular in the 80s. I guess it was like every Japanese household had one. But then as printers became more readily available and cheaper, it kind of brought on the demise of the GoCo machine, sadly. But when I found out they weren't going to make them anymore, I stockpiled a bunch of supplies. So I got a bunch of things just sitting in my studio waiting for me to use them. So for the hearts, I colored them using a red Sharpie, and all of the windows I hand painted with watercolor. And I got wicked hand cramps from that. They're really tiny squares. After all those postcards, it was like, ow. So yeah, and the print is an altered photograph that I took. And this is my book. It is made using the piano hinge accordion structure in The Art of the Fold by Haiti Kyle. So there's a shot of it from the spine, and basically that little dowel is what holds the whole thing together.
Yeah, it looks really simple, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, no, nah.
Yeah.
So here's sort of an open view, and I can show you when I finish the slideshow, I can show you a little more closely what that all looks like.
And
This
this
is
What is your base page, your base pages here that you've cut through? What are they made of?
Oh, it's a speckle tone
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
French paper company.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear my dog thudding upstairs? Sorry about that. So I cut out windows from the cardstock and I suspended the postcards using fishing line because I didn't want it to be really intrusive and I wanted to be able to see the postcards on the front and the backs.
Yeah, there were a wide variety of ways to suspend in a window like idea by maybe, I would say maybe 5 to 10 people in this project did some kind of suspension idea. I didn't get any images out of any of them that would show it like this image. So that's why I asked for this, because it really does help people understand what they're looking at. Because when it's fishing line, you can't really, it's hard to get photos. So I thought you did a good job with getting a picture of it actually up close. Nice.
Oh, good. Yeah, so fishing line, it's a lot stronger than you would think, but yeah, I guess you figure if it's got to catch a fish and hold a fish, it's strong enough for making a book. And the holes were made using my Japanese screw punch on the smallest size bit. Okay, so I think that is the end of the slideshow. And so the spine, there's this little dowel. Let me take it out. And then you can expand the spine like that. And I used a paper, it's got vintage travel labels and tags on it.
How far apart does it pull? I'm
Um,
just curious. I don't want you to like hurt it or anything, but how far can you spread it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Let's
pretty
find out.
far. Look at that. Okay, great.
It's more than 6 inches.
Yeah.
Was it hard to do that kind of
Wow.
binding?
No, the binding isn't that hard. It was just the sewing in of the postcards that really took so much time. So some of the postcards, the pages are square, so I could accommodate both vertical or horizontal postcards.
That's smart.
And are they drum bound to connect like one strip to the next? Is that how you connected them? Because
So
this isn't just one long piece of paper that the holes are cut in. Each one is mounted on its own spine. Is that what it
okay,
is?
so it's got an accordion spine.
Okay.
And then each page is 2 layers, one sheet folded in half. And then the 2 open ends are attached to one mountain fold of the accordion on the spine.
Okay. That's what I was getting at. Yeah. Okay. So now I get it. Okay, cool.
And then,
I love all the different pieces of this block, really. It's so
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah. The colors, it just feels
The
really,
whole postcard thing. I mean, I love Vermont too. I'm about to
Me
come to
too.
Vermont. Yes. And I spent a lot of time in Montpelier on a legal case, and it made me buy a timeshare in Stowe, which I'm about to go to, but
not
Cool.
too far from me.
yeah, I know. But anyway, I love the turning of the pages and the piano hinge idea. And I just think it's wonderful. And of course I love the postcard and the story behind it and the different elements of that. So thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, now I just have to work on getting the dowel back in. It's a little tricky, being that these little loops are all made out of paper. I mean, now that I think about it, Tyvek probably would have been smarter, but it wouldn't have been as pretty as the labels.
Yeah. Interesting. Very cool. I'm excited about this idea of collaboration and how it opens up your eyes to seeing things in new ways. And we just learned so much, and I was so inspired by Wish You Were Here. I'm
Right.
glad everybody can make it.